I'm a dealership and I want to find a lead source provider. There's a whole bunch of them out there. What tips do you have on picking the right lead source provider or aggregator for your store?
Well, I would ask them to tell you where they get their leads from, and I mean tell you where they get their leads from. So not, oh, we get our leads online. Where do you get them online? Show me how you get them online. Where do you spend your money? What partners do you have? Everyone has partners. All of them. Even the big guy you pay $8 grand a month to has partners. Figure out who the partners are, determine where all the leads are coming from, and see if you want to do business with them. And then when you do one at a time. Don't do 10 at a time. You can't do 10 at a time, right? Do one at a time. The number one thing that I would tell you, the dealers who have been on the longest with me are the ones who call and complain, right? If you call and complain, you can figure out where the process is broken. There's lots of times we sign a dealer up for our used program. If you price your cars $5,000 out of market because you're a special finance dealer and you need to keep that margin in there for those people who come across because now you can't raise the price on them, you're not going to index well on my used site. It's all based on price and the consumer. So the consumer is sorted by price. Your cars will never show, you'll never get any leads. So if you bought my product for use and you had a lot of high-priced inventory, I could tell you right out of the gate that you would fail, right? So understanding what it is you're buying, because you're not buying all the same thing, right? All of the companies have a different niche and it can be different based on your inventory. So what I try to do is I try to say, tell me what just like I do with my customers, what are you trying to accomplish, Mr. Dealer, and I'll see if I can help you. That's what I would do. Don't ask, before you ask them a lot of questions, I would tell them, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is what my approach is. Can you do this for me?
So here's something for everybody in the room. It's important to understand there's different providers and resources for new car leads, for used car leads, for special finance. Basically, figure out what you're trying to accomplish utilizing your internet department. Are you trying to sell new cars, used cars, subprime, or a hybrid solution of each, and try to find the right partners that are going to perpetuate what you're trying to do.
See who fits in. And then have goals. I can't tell you how many dealers I ask, we go around the room, but who don't have goals. What is your cost per sale goal and what is your conversion goal? Right? You should be able to say to a guy.
What should they be?
It varies. It depends on how much money you're making on a car, right? So if I have a dealer who has a 3% closing ratio on my special finance leads but makes $5 grand a car, right? And he's okay with that. His process is why he only has 3%. He could sell more, but he doesn't want to sell to people he makes $1,000, $2,000 to. He's a
What
grind.
would you benchmark sell count?
I would say 7% and realistically 350.
350 per car?
Cost per sale, yeah.
Per sale.
Yeah. It'd be better 250, obviously.
That's across the board.
Yeah, across the board.
When my dealer talks about cost per sale, is he talking about compensation?
No, I'm talking about lead only, which costs
Advertisement.
that lead or the marketing that you spent to get it. Obviously, you have to factor in the building and the compensation and the
When
overhead.
I talk cost per sale, we talk
Yeah.
compensation.
No, but
All the way on down
let me
the
give
line.
a very serious number from NADA. The National Automobile Dealers Association says that as of 2010, the average cost per sale in advertisement is $600 per car. So if we could get with the internet or third-party providers, aggregators at 250 to 350, you're a superhero with a cape on at your store, because the average dealership is spending double that for a non-trackable opportunity, for the most part.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a lot of people who work for me, right? And I have to walk a fine line between is it the dealer or is it us, right? First off, you wouldn't even ask the question, is it me or is it you to your provider, unless you actually would take their advice and get better at it if there was some, right? So I'm not necessarily worried about that, but that's another question you should ask. You should put it upon the dealer when you're signing a contract. Okay, if this doesn't work, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for me? Because right now, I can tell you because I know what happens within our own company. I actually know what happens at a couple other companies because we looked at buying them. But there's a huge churn, right? You buy from the same lead providers over and over and over again. You just cancel one, and then you get a new internet manager, or a new general manager, or a new focus 3 months later, and we'll buy again. we'll cancel again. I have dealers who call me in November, oh, I'm canceling all my lead providers and I'm not spending any money till January because I'm out of marketing money, right? 'Cause I don't know how you're gonna sell any cars if you don't have any people coming in the door, right? But there's all these different things out there, but if you have a plan, if you know I need X amount of customers to come in to make X amount of sales, right? If the vendor doesn't live up to it, you need to get them to come in and say, what are you going to do? How are you going to help me? It shouldn't just be about canceling. You should never buy something from somebody and say, I'll give it a shot and we'll see 60 days or 90 days. If it doesn't work, I'll just cancel, right? Because you are wasting your people's times, okay? I'm telling you right now that you don't ever have to buy, maybe you guys do, you get some leads, but the majority of people who have a lot of leads don't need to buy another single lead. You can make your process, you can put all your effort and energy in a process and you'll sell more of the people you already have. That's what you should do first. Figure out how to sell more of the people you already have. Figure out how to sell the people within your system, the thousands of people you've always sold, right? How do you get those people back in? Then you can go to the vendors and say, hey, I've got a good process. I'm closing at whatever, 7%. My cost per sale is 500, 300. My ROI, if you look at it from an ROI perspective, I'm making $2,000 a car, whatever. Now I can start adding some people on. But add them on selectively and hold the vendor accountable. My company is accountable, right? If you call up one of my people and say, I am not selling cars, we will be in your store and we will do whatever we can. We will help you figure it out. The answer still might be, well, you're on the wrong program. You shouldn't be on the used, right? Because you're $5,000 too high. Hopefully we didn't insult you in the first place. But sometimes we have some people who are insistent, right? And I do have salespeople who need to feed their children, and if a guy says, hey, I want it, then they sell it.
Got one last question because
Yes.
my girl just says with your time. This is very important because as you as the Vice President at Cars Direct, and you've got your reps in the room, I'm always telling my clients to work the reps. The more people that are gunning for the success of the dealership, the better off you are. And there's a difference between having reps that sell you, like the $8,000 a month partner, supposedly,
Yes.
that just goes and sells you and then just makes you feel good for spending that much money, but that's it. How can a dealer utilize your reps or other vendors' reps to help them be more successful? You understand what I mean?
The thing that you can do, which usually never happens, this is why the programs work the way it is, because everyone's busy, right? Everyone's busy. You sign a guy up and then you don't see him for 90 days and then you go back and ask, how's it working, and then you cancel. You literally got to sit down with these people. If you're going to do business with somebody, you should be prepared to sit down with them, right? If you're paying somebody any kind of money, they should be in your store on some schedule. Every 2 weeks, once a month, once every 2 months, something. They should be in there in front of you, held accountable for the money you're giving them. But you got to make the time, because 9 times out of 10, the person who's signing the contracts at the dealership never makes the time, right? There's always something else going on in the dealership. But you got to make that time, whether it's one Thursday, every third Thursday a month, you're going to sit down and talk to all your vendors, whatever it is. That's what you should do. You should get them in there. You should say, here are my numbers. Most of the time, dealerships I know don't even know their numbers, right? Or worst case, they ask the internet manager, whose livelihood depends upon the owner writing the checks, and they say, oh, everything is great. It's funny, you only sold 4 cars last month, but all those leads are great, and I'm still working them, right? You got to have real accountability. So have real accountability inside your stores, and then have accountability with your vendors.